Wow. Hello, Becky. Good to see you. Um,
Hello.
Becky, we've been thinking a little bit today in our service about refugees and our response to that, and what God has been saying about, being a refuge, and also us looking out for and looking after people who have to flee to safety and things like that. But so I want to talk to you a little bit about that, Becky, because I know you've got some experience. But before we do that, perhaps you could just tell us a bit of your connection to Alton. So why am I interviewing you today is probably, a good question.
So my family moved to Alton when I was 4 years old, and I lived there up until I was 18 when I moved to London to go to music college. My parents are Sue and Martin Dell, who might be in the congregation today,
You never know.
troublemakers that they are. And I sung in the church choir for 10 years from age 7 to 17.
Wow. So there you go. Becky is one of us, really. She's an Altonian, and it's really good. But you then, as you say, you went to music college, and you now live in Blackheath, which is near Greenwich. So tell us a little bit about what you get up to in Blackheath.
Yeah, so went to Trinity College of Music, ended up in Greenwich, and thought it was such a lovely part of London. It's got all the greenery and the river, so it does remind me of Hampshire a little bit. I'm a musician. I've been a professional musician for 20 years. And the two main things I do at the moment, I have my own music school in Greenwich with 130 students, which keeps
Wow.
us busy.
Oh,
And that's about half the time. And then the other half of the time, I'm musical director of a choir called the Citizens of the World Choir, which is a choir for refugees and allies.
wow. And you brought some of them down to Alton once upon a time, didn't you? And you sang to us, which was really lovely and great to see. But you mentioned there that this is a choir for refugees. So tell us a little bit about, what you've been doing to help them, and other things you've done in that kind of world of looking after, I think you could describe them as displaced humans. And, come on, just tell us a few things that you've been up to with them.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the term of displaced humans, actually. This is a really interesting one. I didn't know any of this stuff 7 years ago. I've always done a lot of human rights work in my life. It's just something that's always called to me, like that sort of sense of injustice and wanting to be part of the solution. And then we got involved in the refugee crisis 7 years ago. And an economic migrant is someone who chooses to leave their country, and a refugee is someone who doesn't choose to leave their country but has to flee through due to persecution or war or climate change. In fact, there's a staggering statistic, which I think 2/3 of the world's refugees are actually climate change refugees, particularly
Wow.
within their own country. And that number is only set to increase. So I know you guys are doing amazing work as an eco church, so keep up the good work for that.
They certainly are. That's lovely. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've done, because I know you went to Calais a few years ago.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah, so I was recovering from quite serious surgery, came home to midnight mass and heard you preaching the sermon about peace and love and understanding. And it was 2015, 2016 when the refugee crisis in Europe was really in full swing. There was not great words of leadership and compassion coming from our leaders. And I decided when I was better, I would go over to Calais and put into action the change that I wanted to see in the world. So 2016, me and my music tutors went over 5 times to the jungle, each time taking over a couple of van loads with us, with clothes, with food, but also doing music lessons, because you sort of think about the Maslow's hierarchy of need. It's really important that people have shelter and food, but also that they have something that makes them still feel like a human. They might be a displaced human, but they are still a human being. Through that, we got involved in Parliament, met an amazing guy called Lord Roger Roberts, and he asked me to set up the choir. And we turned 5 this spring, and so sort of
Wow.
the rest is history.
Great. So you've done that. So why is this really important to you? Why do this? Because you've got a business to run and you've got a life to lead, but you've decided to invest quite a lot of your time and your energy into helping refugees, displaced humans.
Mm. Just realizing that it wasn't going to come from our leaders. It wasn't going to come from the government. And so if not, then who? And it was something that spoke to me, and I decided to be part of the change, to get involved and to put into action the change I wanted to see in the world. And it has been one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It has been an absolute roller coaster, really hard work, but really, really fulfilling. And the biggest, bestest life lesson in, you know, politics, geography, history, culture, arts. Our choir is about 50 people big. We represent 28 different cultures and countries. And so we have learned so much, you know, through their eyes about understanding their culture and their country. And that has been, you know, the most enormous privilege, really.
Have you got a couple of little stories about particular people that maybe would really help us to understand what this has been about for you?
Yeah, so when we first started the choir, it was when the war in Syria was going on. We had a couple of Syrian refugees who obviously have been through, you know, terrible things and sort of in that area of the world. But what surprised me was how many refugees there are from other parts of the world. We have lots from the continent of Africa where there's political unrest. We have the leader of the opposition parties, the brother of the leader of the opposition party from Zimbabwe, who he's not allowed to go back home. We have people from Algeria, we have people from Pakistan escaping the Taliban, people from Iran who have campaigned for women's rights and being threatened with imprisonment for it. Like, to us, really basic things, which is, you know, equality for all, that, you know, women should have equal rights for men, that it shouldn't matter if you're gay or lesbian or bisexual, that you know, there are countries where you can still be killed for that, which is crazy for us. So yeah, people just escaping what we would consider to be the most basic human rights.
Yeah, I think your mum, who might be listening to this, told me a story about one young man who's got into Cambridge. Yeah, that's a good story, isn't it?
Incredible success story. So and he's spoken about this publicly, so it's fine for me to tell the story, but Ali came over here, oh goodness, how old is he? 14 or something, really young, escaped terrible persecution. He's a Hazara, so really persecuted where he comes from. He's been a refugee twice in his life. So from Afghanistan, grew up in Pakistan, and then made it to safety across Europe with a treacherous journey. But he is such a huge success story. He joined our choir right at the beginning. He went into foster care in London. He got into some really great schools, worked so hard, so hard, and has just, he's at Cambridge University now. Where are we now? February. He's been at Cambridge for about 4 or 5 months. So this is his first year of a degree at Cambridge. And he's
just a wonderful story of how this all works, isn't it? You put things together and you see lives transformed and changed because of the kind of things that you've been involved with. Becky, it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. You very kindly said that, you know, you heard me speak at one Christmas and this kind of led to what you're doing. Where do you think God is in all of this?
God is for me, God is in the people that help. What struck me when we went over to the camps was that it was a real split between people like me, who were sort of artists, came from the festival scene, were quite happy with camping. It's not good conditions over there. And then the other half were a variety of religious groups. And it really struck me that these were sort of the two groups that came together and just went, no one's doing anything about this. I will do something about this. And of course, over in the jungle, the French government wouldn't allow any official, like, large NGOs. It was all grassroots organizations, just taking people, individuals taking the initiative to do something. So for me, that's where God is in the action.
Brilliant. And just as an encouragement to those who are in church today, and we might put this out on our website and things as well, if you're happy with that, just an encouragement to people. So what things can we be involved in Alton that would be really helpful for displaced persons?
Well, you could contact the Refugee Council. They're a brilliant organisation. You can find out if there are any displaced humans. I was explaining to Andrew earlier, we tend to call them displaced humans rather than refugees. We say that internally, but externally, some people don't know that phrase. So now you do, displaced humans. You could find out if there are any displaced humans. Of course, we accepted a lot of people from Afghanistan 6 months ago, and those people are still in hotels. They've not been integrated into society. So find out where those people are, and do what you can to integrate them in society. There will be some, like possibly not in Alton, but possibly, you know, within our wider catchment area, there will be some people maybe up in London. We certainly had a whole bunch in Greenwich, and then I think they got moved on. But these people desperately need integration and community and compassion.
Brilliant. Becky, I think we probably ought to stop because the service will go on for so long if we carry on. But it's been really lovely and helping us to understand some more about the refugee crisis and displaced humans. And really good just to get your enthusiasm and to reacquaint ourselves with your enthusiasm. That's good. And we really hope that you'll come to Alton sometime and perhaps bring some of your new friends with you again. That would be really helpful. And I know, Becky, that you haven't been very well, so we'll keep praying that you will, get better after your COVID experience. But really, really good to see you. Thank you so much. And perhaps next time you're in Alton, you can tell us a little bit more of the story. That would be brilliant.
That'd be lovely. Thank you, Andrew.
Bye.